The Penguin finally gets his day. His first full featured episode for Batman the Animated Series. But I was expecting a little bit more. And I'll tell you why as we talk about Birds of a Feather right now. Hello friends, welcome back to the show. I'm so glad to have you. And if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for clicking on this video. I think that you're going to like what you see because if you're like me and grew up on Batman the Animated Series, became a huge Batman fan today, then this show is for you. We talk about and break down each and every episode 25 years later. And today we're talking about Birds of a Feather, which originally aired on February 8th, 1993.
Sorry about the intrusion, sir, but at least you've been ransacked by a man of impeccable taste.
I know I mentioned it before, but I really like the Penguin. He is a little bit different than some of the other villains. He comes from a little bit of a higher society, has a bit of a classier motif to him. I like how everything is kind of bird themed, and I like his motives behind some of his crimes, opposed to some of the other villains that just want to get rich or take money. This is really the first fully featured episode of the Penguin, unless I'm missing one. Even the mechanic, he was the primary villain, but really the story was more, I felt, more of a focus of the mechanic. I've got Batman in my basement. The story was really about the kid, and they kind of just threw in the Penguin into the story. And then he's featured in a lot of the episodes where there's a group of villains. But this is his first really featured episode, and I wanted a little bit more. But I'll tell you all about that right after we do our 60-second rundown of the episode. Got 60 seconds on the Joker Bomb. Here we go. We start off in the middle of a heist where Penguin is in a museum stealing some artwork, and Batman stops him, throws him in prison. He now a passage of time, and he's getting out, and he's reformed. And then a woman in high society is now wanting to attract him to her side to get him into this party to kind of embarrass himself so that she can be in all the papers. And he does that, but they go on a few dates, and he kind of falls for her, and now he finds out that they're planning to do this thing, and so he kidnaps her and holds her for ransom and has her partner, her friend, bring the ransom money, and Batman swoops in and saves the day, and everything's fine, back to normal, and he goes back to prison. That's it. That's all there is.
Back to your old games, huh, Penguin?
You again and again and again.
So right up at the beginning, we establish what it is that I enjoy about the Penguin is that not many penguins are stealing art. Although in the 60s Batman show, a few other villains kind of appreciated the finer things of jewels or crowns or artwork or this one specific thing that they were trying to steal. But in the animated series, it seems like the Penguin's really the one that is driven by that motive. So we see that right up at the beginning. And he's with his goons. He's stealing some artwork, but he appreciates this. He's stealing this for his own collection.
No!
He goes to prison, and we see that he is now going to be reformed. Now, this is a classic story that we've seen done with the Penguin over and over again. Even the movie Batman Returns kind of dabbles in this, although he never really was bad in the movie. He was just in hiding, but he kind of works his way up through the ranks to eventually run for mayor. I know that they did this story in the 60s, Batman. So it's a classic Penguin story, and I don't have a problem with that. But it just took a long time to get going.
Whatever do you mean?
There's more to our encounter than meets my eagle eye, isn't there?
I think because it's a story that we're familiar with, I felt like they could have done more with it and just moved that forward a little bit more. So they kind of sped through him getting arrested and him in prison and passage of time, and now he's coming out and he's good.
I've learned my lesson. Never again.
And then it kind of slows way down when he's dating Veronica, and we see that he's good, and they're about to get mugged, and he saves her, and Batman swoops in.
This time, I'll clean up after you.
All those kind of things are, is interesting, but it's been played out. I've seen it before, so I wanted to see maybe a little bit more to it than just he's good, and now she turns on him, so now he wants to be bad.
You said it yourself. That fat bird would never get invited to a party like this.
I found that there's kind of a collection of episodes like this in the animated series that are sort of formulaic. We have a criminal that wants to do something bad, and Batman stops him. Then there's the episodes that really are dynamic or show a new side of the character or show a new depth that I think are what end up being very high on the list.
All I wanted from you, dearie, was a little friendship. That would have cost you nothing.
I don't know why they haven't used Penguin that much in the series, or they kind of use him in auxiliary kind of roles in the episodes. There seems like there's some stories that they want to tell. They need a villain, so they throw him in, like in The Mechanic or like I've Got Batman in My Basement. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because we're fresh off of Batman Returns, so they didn't want to overuse him, or they wanted to do some different stories, or wanted to separate him a little bit from Batman Returns, although he was designed after the Danny DeVito Penguin in that. Definitely don't think that Batman Returns was made for kids. I didn't see it until much later after it came out. There's a whole new audience that's watching Batman, the animated series, that they could have done a lot of different things with the Penguin that they didn't for whatever reason. And so when episodes come along like this that really truly feature the Penguin, I feel like there's more that they could have done.
I knew I could count on your kind.
He does kind of go back and forth between wanting to reform and be bad, and he wants the finer things in life and kind of the high society and be a part of that group of people. Still has ties to the evil ways. In fact, when he first gets out of prison, I love that he goes to that club or that place or whatever it is.
Well, fellow rogues, it's great to be back.
And is looking for Joker and Two-Face and all them, as if they hang out in this club and probably play cards like they did and Almost Got Him. And nobody's there except Batman.
I just came to tell you to keep your beak clean.
And then we spend a lot of time with him dating Veronica. They go to the opera, which coincidentally, the opera that they go to, Pagliacci, was also used in the 60s Batman with the Joker. The Joker kidnapped him when he was on TV and plays Pagliacci, something like that. And a couple of other things in the episode that were just a little out of touch from the episodes. One is Batman doesn't, truthfully, play a huge role in this. He comes in, stops the Penguin, comes back, threatens the Penguin. Bruce Wayne is in there kind of feeling out, doing a little detective work to see what Penguin's really up to.
Maybe the rumors of your reform are not exaggerated.
Anything's possible when love is involved.
And then he swoops in and stops him. So we don't get to see Batman as the detective and as a real challenge to the Penguin. It's just more or less Penguin's doing bad. He's trying to find that out, and then he stops him. Easy peasy. Another thing that I've never noticed in the show before, and I'm sure that it's happened in the past, but there's two shots that stood out to me in this that were clearly out of focus. The whole thing was out of focus. I know they do some of that depth of field and rack focus action there that they do with the telephone booth and Pierce. But there are two shots that are just completely, the whole frame is just out of focus. And again, I'm sure that happened a few other times in the series, but I never noticed it like this. It was pretty obvious.
Such an enchanting evening.
One of the things that I enjoy about this show versus the 60s Batman show is obviously the 60s show was very formulaic. It always kind of followed that same 3-act structure through the 2-part episode. Animated series was very different, that they kind of took different routes of telling stories or different dynamics, or they start at the end and go backwards, or they offered different questions of what was supposed to happen or what didn't happen, or into the psyche of some of the villains or the Batman or to all these different elements. And this one kind of falls into that basic structure. And there's a few episodes that are kind of in that structure where villain does bad, Batman stops him. Just a basic cops and robbers kind of story.
I knew you couldn't stay clean for more than one day.
Let him go. He didn't do anything. It was those brutes.
He wasn't with them?
And so I think that those episodes always kind of ended up being a little bit forgettable and kind of fall by the wayside, and certainly don't compare to some of the other episodes in the series.
Why?
For the entertainment, Dodo. Can't you just see their faces when that stuffed capon waddles in?
I will say this episode has two really positive things. One is that the duck boat was back, which is always fun, and the duck looked really angry in this one too. And the other thing is there's a moment where Penguin is wearing a Viking hat, riding a flying dragon. I know it sounds out of place, but it was at the Opera House and it made sense. So they were able to justify having the Penguin riding a giant dragon, which I thought that was cool. So that really helped out the episode.
And who says opera has to be boring?
So when it comes time to rank this episode, I really wanted to rank it up higher. And even though it does have the Penguin riding a dragon, it didn't quite save this episode from the fate of falling down on the list. And again, it wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't an episode that I was just angry about and despised and threw things. It was just an episode that wasn't as good as some of the great episodes. There seems to be a bit of a debate going on of whether or not there truly is a bad Batman the Animated Series episode or whether they're all good, just some are better than others. So for all those reasons, I ended up placing this at the number 33 slot, just below Terror in the Sky, which has a great continuation of the Man-Bat story, and again, just integrates more elements into the story rather than just cops and robbers, Batman and villain. But it does beat out The Last Laugh because as far as Joker episodes go, The Last Laugh, I'm seeing it drop further and further down on the list. The Penguin in this episode versus the Joker in that episode, it just bumps it up just above that.
We'll end this on a high note.
I can't remember if I've asked this or not, but why do you think that the Penguin hasn't been used in the animated series more? Why do you think they mostly used him in episodes with either other villains or as kind of the secondary character or the throwaway villain to motivate another story that's going on? I'm curious to know what you think. I think that it may have something to do with the timing of the Batman Returns, but I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think of why they didn't use the villain as much as they could, because I think he's kind of cool. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, please click that like button. And if you want to see more of the episodes, just hit subscribe because we got a ton of episodes that are coming right at you. Now, next week, there is no episodes for Batman the Animated Series that are released. However, I've got some other episodes that I'm going to pepper into the schedule, so I won't be gone next week. We'll just have some different episodes. So be keeping an eye out for that and click the subscribe button so that you're sure to know when they come out. As always, I'm Andy Knode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.